Everybody, you're watching SmallCapSteve Live. I'm the SmallCapSteve. We got a big show for you guys today. We've got Lobo Tiggre joining us. We're going to talk mining, macro, gold, all the volatility that's going on, maybe even ask him his thoughts on Bitcoin. And then later on, we're going to get into all the news that's going on in the Canadian small cap world. Of course, there's lots of money flowing into the tech names and some of the psychedelic names, which is making the guy with the nickname SmallCapSteve very happy that he chose that name over 10 years ago on Twitter. All right, let's get started. Hey there, everyone. Let me get these screens arranged properly. Oh, it's not letting me do it for some reason. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Normally, let's be there we go. Here we go. Bingo. Okay. That's our normal setup. I forgot to do it beforehand. Lobo, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on the show.
So where do we get started here? Let's start with the silver short squeeze. Obviously, this was all over Twitter. They started on Reddit, then it seemed like Wall Street Bets tried to nip that in the bud. What's your thoughts on the silver short squeeze?
Well, first off, I have to say that I think it was legitimate for the folks in the silver space to bring it up on Wall Street Bets. They're looking at various different shorting opportunities, and there was an interesting investment thesis there. So I don't think there was, there's a reaction like this was the hedge funds trying to distract us from GameStop or whatever. I don't think that's true. I think it was a legitimate investment thesis. It got shot down on Wall Street Bets. I think that's unfortunate, but that created now the Wall Street silver. And I think that's just fine. Let the market decide which idea is best. But rather than go down the rabbit hole of who did what and all that, I think the really important takeaway here is that this did get some really important structural features of the silver market that make it a particularly interesting investment in front of a lot of people who were paying no attention to it before. And it's really interesting to me. I just had a talk with Andy Sheckman and some of the other bullion guys that talk at Miles Franklin with him, and they're all still seeing record volume. They are out of stock, and their suppliers are out of stock. You want silver, you got to wait months and pay a huge premium. So even if the Wall Street Bets thing is now so last week, right? The lasting impact of people's eyes being open and saying, "Oh, wait, something's going on here. This is interesting." I think that is really good news.
So what do you think needs to happen in order to cause a squeeze in silver? Like, do you have to ask for delivery? Are there public vehicles that investors can be investing in?
Sure. Well, a lot of people have come on and said that you really can't squeeze the silver market the way you can a stock with limited float like GameStop. And I understand that argument, and I certainly understand, that even the Hunt brothers couldn't do it, right? I get all that. And certainly when you go down in your coin shop and you buy a Silver Eagle or whatever, you're not going to have any impact on any short squeeze anywhere or the price on Wall Street. That's not going to happen. That said, if people do pile into the ETFs are in a position to take delivery on the futures market, and that can have an impact. So I do think at some point, we've seen this before with the gold space. At some point, physical demand does matter, and particularly during the bear market after 2011, when you had that peak in gold, and you had these sort of stair-step down events in the gold space. Every time that happened, there were these people coming on saying, "Oh, gold's going down to $1,000 or sub, 3 digits. It's all going to be terrible." And then what would happen would be that physical demand would come in, particularly from the East, and it would put a floor under that. So we have seen this happen in the space before. So I would not tell people, your little purchase on SLV or PSLV is going to drive silver prices higher. But I do think it matters if there's a large movement. And I do think the physical market does matter. And ultimately, it can have an impact even on Wall Street.
So what's your favorite method of exposure then? For you personally, obviously, do you prefer to actually hold the physical or just the ETFs, junior miners? How do you go about it personally?
Yeah, absolutely. I want it in my hands. Here you go. You know, I understand the concept of stacking, and you know, there's only so much silver itself I actually want on hand. Silver I see as for making small change, you know, if needed. So most of my bullion purchases are in gold. That's where most of my savings actually is, in gold. I save in gold, and I keep operating cash in dollars or other fiat currencies that can be inflated away. And I just, you know, silver is inconvenient to save in large amounts in physical. But the reason for owning the metals themselves is, as my mentor Doug Casey taught me, it's prudence. I don't speculate on gold or silver prices going up. That's not why I own them. I own them because they have value and have for thousands of years. There's a story you can find on in defense of hard metals on my website, independentspeculator.com, where I tell the story. It's a true story about how I basically bankrupted myself taking a chance on a job that disappeared on me. And my coin collection that I had started as a boy with silver coins fed my family. It was the ultimate reserve in time of need, and that's that's what it's for. And so, absolutely, personally, if I'm going to own gold or silver, I'm not interested in the paper substitutes or even the near substitutes like a Perth Mint certificate. I want it in my own direct physical possession. That's what the ultimate refuge is for. Now, if I want to place bets on price movements, obviously, you know, you can pay premiums going in and out of the bullion products, the retail bullion products. So the various electronic versions are good for trading. But even there, that's not for me, because if I'm going to trade price movements, then the metals themselves don't offer as much leverage as the stocks of the companies. If gold goes up 1%, it's common to see the gold miners go up 3, 4, 5%. So if I'm going to step away from the safety of bullion that I can hold in my hands, why would I own an electronic version of that? No, if I'm gonna go for wealth creation instead of wealth preservation, then I want the leverage of the gold and silver stocks.
Okay, so you talked a little bit there about your background. I've been a big fan of watching a lot of your various YouTube appearances. I actually don't know the backstory of Lobo Tiggre. How did you become this independent speculator sort of personality that all of us gold bugs seem to love on YouTube?
Well, thank you very much. It's kind of funny. I got here by being the black sheep of the family, more or less. I'm the rabble-rousing, anarchist, atheist, troublemaker of the family. and I found a kindred soul in Doug Casey. I used to run, 20 years, no, 20, well, gosh, I don't even want to say how long ago it was. Sort of in the early days of the internet, a kind of pirate radio station I had. And I interviewed Doug Casey. I'd never heard of him, but a listener suggested that I talk to this Doug Casey guy. He's an anarchist like you. And it was like talking to my long lost brother. 45 minutes. He didn't say a thing I disagreed with. 30 years later, I can think of a few things to disagree with. We're not clones. But so we became friends. And sometime later, actually 2004, when he founded Casey Research, he took his newsletter, which had existed for a long time, and he made a business out of it with David Galland in 2004. And at that point, we were friends. They knew I was a writer. They knew I was a quick study, and they brought me on. It's funny, I didn't know really anything about the industry. I didn't know what a warrant was. I didn't know anything about geology other than that rocks are cool. But they figured they could teach me the rocks and the stocks, and they wanted somebody that they could trust, and that's why I got the job. And that's ancient.
I think he froze. Jay, are you there?
I'm here, yes.
Yeah, I wasn't sure who froze. I think we lost him. We'll give him a minute to come back. Yeah, we lost him. So part of the technical difficulties of doing a live show. I find this interesting. Who was your first? Like, do you have anyone that's in the gold space that when you hear them talking, you just stop what you're doing? You're like, like your wife's like, you got to help put the kids to bed. You're going through YouTube and you stumble across a video of somebody talking. Who is it that sort of has you like, okay, I got to stop and watch this guy?
we do a lot of videos.
SmallCapSteve. I know that you do that for SmallCapSteve, but SmallCapSteve is
I got your tweets on notification, buddy.
You do?
Of course I do.
I didn't know that.
That's how I bug you all the time with your Sundial call. Anyways, we do a lot of video content, but you know me, I don't spend a lot of time personally watching YouTube, and that's largely time constraint. In terms of gold and silver itself, I actually just prefer to find my own diligence. It's how I got to the deep dive itself, right? I just like to read, and I like to aggregate opinions and everything else. I mean, Russell Starr, who's a frequent guest, I actually love the content he puts out, and I will actually go and search out his stuff because I think it's great.
I talked to Russell today.
There you go. I know he's filming his next video with us. But I mean, there's a lot of... I like to get different opinions. I like to hear the bull case, the bear case, and form my own opinions from that, right? And I mean, that's how I got to a position where I hold physical silver, and we're extremely long gold, silver, all kinds of resource names. Go for it. I like to hear yours.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but you're kind of just tiptoeing around it. You're not giving us any names. The guy who makes me stop in my tracks every time he's on TV, and I've got to watch it, is Kyle Bass. You ever seen Kyle Bass?
I follow him on Twitter. Again, I don't.
Oh, he's just like on another level. Like a lot of these gold guys, and like we've had some of them on our shows before. Like they're kind of just early influencers, and they kind of just have the same talking points. Like I know everybody loves Peter Schiff, and I think Peter Schiff's doing God's work in a lot of ways, exposing issues in the system that people don't realize. But there's not like a lot of new content whenever he's on.
No, I used to be a huge fan of Schiff until like you can only hear him so much before it's literally the same thing.
It's kind of like Bernie Sanders for talking.
Well, QTR. I used to listen to every show of his religiously, and that was probably the first person I stopped and listened to everything. But then it just got to the same points again, right? So,
yeah. No, the thing I like about Kyle is he's always working on a new investment thesis, and he's looking into stuff and doing research that like you and I don't have access to. So, for example, like the whole China short thing was like he's talking about things, and I can put two and two together. And when he talks about how it's a closed capital account where once U.S. dollars arrive in China, it's very hard to get them out of China. And he was also long GM, and he's no longer GM. And, GM has a very profitable business in China. And I can't help but think that that's probably the origin of why he started investigating China so much. Is he started looking at companies, and probably not just GM, but that quite frankly could have been one of the first ones where he just sort of looked at this thing and said, there's something amiss here. And then, does that research that nobody else in the media wants to go through, which is like, there's really screwed up things happening there. It does pose a threat to the rest of us, and let's try to understand this before we let it keep going further. And he knew what was going on with the coronavirus early on, and because we're so fucking politically correct, nobody wants to point fingers and say, yeah, maybe we should put some sanctions on China. But like, these are things worth exploring. Right?
Oh, absolutely. It's worth understanding them. There's all kinds of stuff. Geopolitics greatly impacts markets, but it's something people never, ever want to take into consideration when investing, right? And I mean, if that's what actually happened in terms of his position on General Motors and then GM and everything else, I mean, personally, I suspect that the rise in Bitcoin and other related cryptocurrencies is a function of people trying to get money out of those jurisdictions, right? Mm-hmm. To me, that's the draw to any type of crypto, and I'm not a huge crypto fan, but I can absolutely see application purpose in such instances, right? So,
yeah, another guy that I like that I know a lot of people aren't a fan of, but he's put out a lot of great content that I think people just like to shit on him because he's also a gold dealer. Is Mike Maloney. I don't know if you've seen any of his content on the history of money, but I think he explains stuff in a very easy to understand way, talking about like he really explains sort of how China imports the inflation by just basically outprinting the US. and just how currencies work. If anybody's looking to understand monetary policy on a very easy to understand level, I highly recommend a lot of his content. I don't know if you know. I don't even know if you know him.
I know. It's like a lot of things. I know the name, but I don't know what he's known for.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean.
Yeah, I see. This is probably a big difference between you and I. Is in a lot of people
It's a big difference.
YouTube's the second largest search engine in the world, behind Google. Obviously,
and who owns? Yeah, exactly.
But what's interesting about that is that this is how a lot of people consume. That's why we started doing video. Was we realized, oh shit, if we don't start doing video, we're gonna fall behind. Like, do I want to have this brick wall and neon sign and like microphone that I'm told is not even good enough? No, I don't.
Joe Rogan, do you?
The guy who told me to install this brick wall, at the time I didn't realize that's what Joe Rogan had, is now making jokes. You put me in quite
you to do it. It's great.
You put me in quite the position here, Jay.
I will never not laugh at that. That's so funny.
Okay, well, look, let's go. Let's get into some of the news, and maybe Lobo comes back. Maybe he doesn't. I was just getting into it. I wanted to ask him where he lived, and I wanted to like pry a little bit to figure out like what's the back. I feel like he's got to have such an interesting backstory. But if he comes back,
so for viewers that were watching before Lobo cut out for whatever reason, he actually did a daily dive video with us. It is already posted, and it's great. I watched it a couple times, actually. I really like his insights. He presents it in really easy to understand ways. So, But let's get into the news here.
Okay, so let's start off with Voyager has closed $100 million financing. Let me see if I can pull up the news here.
So, off memory, this was at US $13.10 per share. I do not believe there's a warrant on it. This is a quick one I did this morning. Yeah, $13.10 per share. No warrant attached. About 7.6 million shares were issued. They did not provide the exact amount. In Canadian terms, that US $13.10 is about $17. So they were trading a bit below that offering price at the time of writing. It's just strong demand. They said general corporate purposes, which is just boilerplate text at this point for these financings, but it looks like they're going to heavily invest in their own growth. So,
okay, obviously a very interesting story.
I'll be honest. I don't know a whole lot about Voyagers.
Yeah, I know a little bit about them. I actually was considering picking up shares of them for our account.
For like $1, not that long ago.
At 90 cents, someone told me about it, and they're like, these are the guys who started E-Trade. And it's like they're on like some Canadian microcap platform.
I did not know that. So what I do know is that they deal in cryptocurrency. You can place your money there and get a return, is my understanding. It's just been it's explosive today, and it's been explosive the last few months. Since November, when Bitcoin started to pick up a good pace again, it's just gone bonkers. It's a 10x if you put in at $1.76 a few months ago. That's wild.
Yeah, but that's Bitcoin's gone nutty here.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's go on to the next story here. Revive Therapeutics. They closed a $23 million bot deal financing. That's a lot of loot. That's a lot of loot.
CEO Michael Frank did good on this one.
He won't come on the show, by the way. He's like,
we keep trying.
He's always like, hey, I'm too big for you for you guys. I'm Bloomberg. I'm MarketWatch. Who are you guys?
You got Relay up there.
Oh, this is Relay. This is Relay. Anyway. Relay's news. I have the right title. Hold on.
Scroll down. It's right there, man. This is the problem with live, folks. Right there. Down.
Hold on.
What are you doing? It's on the sidebar.
There you go. Calm down. Calm down, Jason.
So anyways, originally announced at 10 million, their bot deal doubled to 20 before being fully exercised with over allotment at 23 million. So 50 cents per share 50 cents per unit. Each unit had one common share, one purchase warrant. Warrant is at 70 cents, and there is an acceleration clause on it. Proceeds are to be used for that phase 3 clinical clinical study that they're currently in the middle of with busilamine in the treatment of COVID-19, and as well as some clinical costs for phase 1 studies for psilocybin. So lots going on over at Revive. The other day, they actually announced that they're doing some CBD stuff still as well. So I imagine Mr. Frank himself is extremely busy these days.
Yeah. Well, look, here's let's move on to the next piece of news here. Juchi. Is this another raise by Juchi?
So this is the closing of that $65 million raise.
So this is the original one. Like whenever this stuff gets announced, there's like 5 other news releases that happen. So this is just the same one.
Yeah, I need content this morning. Give me a break, man. 74.8 million in total was raised. That's Canadian dollars, to be clear. $10 even per share. Nice and easy. 7.5 million shares effectively. It looks like they're looking to buy their Virginia property, as we discussed a few days ago on the live show, and put some money into expansion there.
Did you say Virginia?
In Virginia, yes.
She doesn't own a dress. Her hair is always a mess.
It's Friday, folks.
Catch her stealing, she might confess.
I have no idea what song you're singing.
She's beautiful. Smokes a pack a day. No, wait, that's me even anyway. You don't know that song?
No, who is it? No idea.
Meet Virginia by Train.
By Train? I don't listen to Train.
Oh, no one listens to Train. I listen to Train.
Let's move on.
This is like I wanted to ask Michael Orbach if we could have Jay-Z on the show. I'm like, I'm just not cool enough. God.
He started talking about his professional career, and I don't even know the first thing about him. I couldn't name a single song.
Q Media continues to smash viewership records. What can you tell us here, Jason?
So Kurt and Scott keep delivering on this name. I'll tip my hat fully to them. Their ratings just keep getting better and better. Their gross rating points is now 4.4, which is incredible considering they were at 1.8 something like 15, 16 weeks ago. 174% change. There you go. They just keep performing is really what it comes down to. They're taking viewership from Disney and MTV. And I'll be clear here that those ratings are only applied to the actual linear television platform that they're on. But they also have their channel on over-the-top programs, such as over-the-top means like Roku. They have different names in India, obviously, but they've got crazy distribution, and that's only a fraction of their actual distribution. So they're just hitting it out of the park. Viewership on the Indian version of TikTok is also up. I believe they're expected to cross 100 million cumulative views this weekend, which is up 55 million in the last 30 days. So
don't bet against Scott Patterson and Kurt Marvis.
Exactly. That's really what it comes down to. You think people are down and out, that's probably a good time to bet on them.
That's the lesson of the story here, folks. When you got guys that have had previous success in capital markets and they're down against their luck, that's the time you got to bet on these folks. The stock's working. I'm sure that they're going to make the stock work for them. There's actually a lot of real interesting deal flow, I think, or M&A type deals they could do in India. I don't know if they're looking at that. But now that they got some cash in the kitty, as they say, I think that they can go out and they can do some real things. Scott Patterson's the kind of guy who it's like riding a bike for him. You put him in a bull market, he knows how to navigate it. So we'll see. I just think that for him, a guy who has his track record,
he made his name in the tech boom. Right, so this is exactly his wheelhouse, and to that matter, this is exactly Kurt's wheelhouse. I mean, he was in MTV in the early days, so I mean, I imagine he's loving that he's really starting to kick MTV's ass over in India. And one thing from this morning that I forgot to mention is actually that they've got half the distribution footprint of MTV and Disney in India. and they're still hitting comparable view numbers. That is incredible. Average view time is 69 minutes per viewer. That means you're anyone that tunes in is sitting down for over an hour on average to watch their channel.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and it looks like we got Lobo back. Lobo, can you hear us? Can you hear us?
I can. I'm on my phone, so the sound quality isn't so great, but hopefully we can say something intelligible and deliver some value here.
Perfect.
Oh, look, and then look, we can actually make this work here under this screen mode. Looks like we're having some technical difficulties.
Some delays, I believe.
Yeah. Okay, so Lobo, how do you go about evaluating junior mining stocks?
Okay, well, that sort of picks up with the last interrupted question, and by the way, this is just sort of par for the course here in Puerto Rico. Our equipment is fine here at home, but for some reason the internet just decided to go away for a while. So I'm on my phone now, and hopefully you can understand me. Just give me the hook if I turn into a robot and you can't hear me. But the answer to the question is, Doug Casey has a famous formula of 9 Ps of resource stock evaluation. It was 7 when I first joined him, and it's there's a lot that goes into it, but it's basically just the basics of what makes for a good company. And the very first one is people. People is the first P, and I would just suggest that people can, our audience can Google Doug Casey 7 Ps, 8 Ps, 9 Ps, whatever the current version is. You should be able to find it. But I'd like to stress that the people factor is paramount. The best rocks in the world, the most wonderful geology, the most prospective mine can be totally screwed up by the wrong people. And I have almost 2 decades of experience now here, so there are a number of names that have failed me or lied to me in the past, and I just won't do business with them. And I think that's not rocket science, but it's absolutely worth remembering. And these days, even if you don't have decades of experience, everybody has Google. So you can Google and see if some CEO has a long history of, shareholder revolts and lawsuits and that sort of thing, or whether he has a track record of delivering for shareholders.
Mm-hmm. So let's say that you're looking at a junior miner and they announce that, they're going to do a drill program of, we lost them again. This may be, we may have to do this another day. The question I wanted to ask him, I might as well keep going because, they might be back. There you go. Now you're back. Okay, perfect. So the question I wanted to ask you was, let's say you're looking at.
Sorry, I'm not hearing you. You're sounding.
Okay, let's move this to another day where maybe the internet's a little bit more stable. And we'll be able to do this properly. Okay. So what I was going to ask there, Jay, and I'll just ask you is, when we look at certain junior mining companies, they announce, they're going to do like a drill program of like, what would it small, like 10 holes. You think that it's worth actually deploying any capital into these kind of names?
It's hard. 10 holes, how many meters, right? Is it going to be?
So I'm talking like a drill program that's like 2,000-3,000 meters.
Yeah. So I mean, here's the thing with just going on the holes basis, because I'll start there because that's where you had originally asked. 10 holes, if it's 200 meters per hole, that's not that exciting. If they're going to 2,000 meters per hole, because places like Red Lake, the gold can be very, very deep, that's actually still interesting, right? So that kind of depends. In terms of, for whatever reason, 3,500 meters seems to be the go-to point for a lot of these programs. I don't know if that's just based on average meterage. I see Michael Dane's watching there, so he might have some quick insight on that. But it's hard because sometimes, like, if a good result hits. Look at Vizsla Resources last August or so, I believe it was. They had started with a small program, and they hit some astounding silver numbers on an equivalent basis, at least. So then you do the financing, and the drills just keep turning and turning and turning, right? So sometimes I think it's actually not the worst thing in the world, because these management teams are almost being respectful of their capital, and they go, I'll start with 3,500 meters. If I get all dusters, then I haven't committed to the market that I'm doing this. If results are great, I just keep going and I keep going and I keep going, right? So it's kind of give and take, right?
Yeah, it's something I think about, because we were in some of these names, we still are, where they're not running really substantial drill programs, and it's like I suppose in a great gold market that can work, like that can fly, like you're gonna show you hit some gold, and if gold were $2,300-$2,400 right now, we'd probably feel a lot more comfortable in some of these names, but at 1,800-1,900, it's like, what's the point, right? Like if you hit, a tiny little intersection, are you going to be able to raise the money to expand on that program much? And do investors care? So I've gotten this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But to me, it goes back to being respectful of capital, right? Why would you commit to a 10,000 meter program if you are say you buy this property and you're like, okay, historicals say that's good. However, historicals cannot be relied upon for a reason, right? There's a reason certain results are not 43-101 compliant. And if there's poor results initially, there's no sense in keeping on going more and more and just wasting capital, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's just, look, it's something I think about, because we invested in a whole bunch of different gold projects over the summer, and a lot of these are just now, we're just kind of like, I suppose we probably knew that at the time, that they didn't have enough money to do a real drill program, but we thought a lot more capital was going to flow in and we were going to be the first money. And now we're kind of, sitting around.
Yeah. So, to be clear, me and Steve are bummed out about certain results released by Monterey. Former client, I'll be honest, but the results were terrible. That's just all they were. They were terrible. So, you get results like that, and you get bummed out on a sector as a whole when that's not necessarily correct because of recency bias, right? So it makes it tough, absolutely, but at the same time, we're in small cap and we know high risk.
Yeah,
right?
But so, the thing that I also think about a lot is what happened in the psychedelic sector recently, where it looked like these things were all were kind of no bid, nobody was really interested, and then poof, they all flew, and it was like, what just happened? What happened? And I wonder that, a lot of these gold names, that I'm kind of saying that their programs are too tiny, but if there was capital flowing in, would anybody give a shit that they were too tiny? Or would these all be 100 market cap stocks, even though they've only got a couple $1 million on their balance sheet?
Yeah, here's something to consider, right? Gold, is it at $2,000? No, it's in $1,800-$1,900. That's still some of the highest prices we've ever seen for gold. And yes, there's inflation and everything that impacts the real price over time, whatever, if you want to get into that. But we're still at this point where I feel like, look at Newfound Gold, for example. They hit great results, and yes, a lot of it was during that time. However, this thing is staying strong because they continue to put out decent results. So I feel like any junior that, if you get the results, no matter the size of the program, 3,500 meter program, and you hit 100 grams per ton over 10 meters, you're still going to get a bid, right? It's not like no one cares. Keep in mind that Newfound Gold actually came to the market at what was perceived to be a bad time for gold. They started this in 2019, right? So,
good point.
Right?
Good point.
Any good results will drive value, right?
I'm trying to get young Justin on the show right now. I think it'd be. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I think he's logged in.
Young Justin himself?
Young Justin.
For those of you watching, our producer is telling us that we pulled him out of class, if that tells you how young he is.
I gotta get the caption ready here. I didn't think he'd actually come on. Now, this is really exciting stuff. He's part of the short mafia, and he's a writer. Justin, can you hear us?
We can't hear you. You gotta turn on your mic, buddy.
Hello.
It's
There you go.
the young
Hey.
Justin makes his first appearance on
Hello.
SmallCapSteve Live.
How? This is very. I don't even know what to explain. Your producer called me and told me to click the link or else. So I'm here now.
Well, thanks for joining us and say hi to our 181 viewers watching young Justin live.
Hello. I'm glad to be here.
So Justin, what's going on in the MSO world? First question, are you a part of the MSO gang?
Oh God, we're gonna start with the good questions here. I regrettably I am not a part of the MSO gang currently, but that can change.
Good. I'm
I
asking.
can change with just a Twitter bio update, Justin.
Yes, it can. That's true. But as you can see, I've been a little bit busy here, so I don't really check.
I'm gonna ask the audience right now. Should young Justin join the hashtag MSO gang? I don't really know. What is this MSO gang movement that's all over my Twitter feed?
So, you know what? I'm not the best person to answer that question, to be honest with you. I don't know too much about it, like exactly what it is, but it's MSOs, multi-state operators, right? So I guess it's just all the people who've been long all these MSOs for the last year and a half, and who believe in like the $100 billion total addressable market that comes with the U.S. market.
So Justin, gotta ask you,
Yes.
what MSOs do you like? They want to know.
What I like.
You've got all these spreadsheets.
Yes.
You're the expert.
So you gotta be careful.
Yeah. Not the names you like to short.
Like if you guys gave me 5 minutes of prep time, I would have had some stuff for you. But
Okay. I'll start easier. What class did we just pull you out of?
Business processes.
Oh.
So you didn't have your process ready to be pulled out?
You know what? I don't really like that class. I was actually thinking about dropping the class. So
live on air, breaking news.
Yes, live on air. I'll teach you guys how to drop out of a class.
Oh yeah.
But tell us let's start at the top. TrueLeaf thoughts.
I like it. I like that they've kind of moved away from the single state operator name. They've done a lot of good acquisitions, and I think I think most of the MSOs are good capital allocators, right? The top four have pretty good do pretty good they use their money properly. So I think that's kind of broad based and not just specifically for TrueLeaf, but I do think I do like how they spend their capital.
Okay, so you're a fan of Kim Rivers as a capital allocator. Let's go down the list here. What's your thoughts on Green Thumb?
So I want to caveat this because I only look at the financials for the most part. I'm Canadian based. I don't really have the feet on the ground in America to actually know a lot of this stuff. But I like Green Thumb. I like their footprint. I'm currently trying to pull up my spreadsheets to give more data, and it's not really working for me. So
you know what name I want to know about?
Let's hear.
So it relates to MSOs.
Yes.
A certain individual on Twitter, I can't remember who it was specifically, but they said that they're about to release their name after doing due diligence. It's a company that has associations with TrueLeaf. It's an MSO allegedly that is it's been talked up, but it's been lost. Do you know who I'm talking about? Have you seen all that? So apparently the pump is on for Bang Inc.
Bang.
The chocolates company. So there's a chocolates company that they've got licensing with Indiva for up here in Canada. The chocolates are actually pretty good up here. Down south, it's a licensing deal, and I've seen not so much Twitter, but actually Facebook has been talking about that endlessly. Have you followed them at all?
I haven't. I actually cleaned out my my watch list, and I got rid of quite a few names, so I haven't looked at them. No.
That's bad news for Bang shareholders. You got cut from Young Justin's watch list. No spreadsheet for you.
Or analyst notes.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's the biggest part.
What do you think of some of the second tier guys, like say like Harborside or a Forefront or a Planet 13, 21? What do you think?
So for like the tier 2s, I mean, like, what do you count as tier 1? Because I currently right now I have like Air Strategies, or Air Wellness is what they're transferring their name to. Tier 2, kind of as the higher up of tier 2. You know, I have like Columbia Care in my tier 2 list.
What's the draw to Columbia Care?
I like Columbia Care. They've done some very like interesting acquisitions recently. I think they've closed a lot. They have I have here that Greenleaf is closing by Q3 of this year. I heard that they have some pretty good stuff. Like I said, I'm not too keen on the actual state-by-state legislation and, you know, that type of information. So I don't know the, you know, all that good stuff. But I hear it's pretty good from the people I talk to who are, you know, boots on the ground. I like Harborside. I don't really have too much to add to why I like it.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I kind of bought it on a flyer.
Okay. My thought process is this, and I was ranted about this yesterday, Justin. So tell me if you think
get prepared for a SmallCapSteve rant.
Right.
So tell me if you think that this is an idiotic idea, but I'm going to get my
yes, it probably
idea.
is.
Look, I'm long Sundial. What do I care about fundamentals?
Fair point.
I'm looking at some of those smaller cap names. SmallCapSteve, of course. The Harborsides, the Stems. Heck, I'll even throw the C21 out there, even though I know Jay is going to need a barf bucket. Some of those, heck, maybe Tinley. I don't know. Anybody who's got big exposure in the U.S. And I believe there will come a point where we've got these Canadian producers that are listed on the NASDAQ and NYSE. What are they? They're effectively expensive SPACs. They're raising money. They can't make money in Canada. So what are they going to have to do? They're going to have to wait until there's a regulatory clearance for them to purchase stuff in the U.S. where there is investor appetite, and then they're going to have to go after that. So I think that all these names, and it's like I brought up yesterday, Tokyo Smoke. Remember how dumb that acquisition was? How expensive it was?
Yes.
I think we're going to see some of these smaller names right now that have these tiny market caps just get taken out for stupid valuations. And if I were running a reasonably strong, cute operation and a Canadian deal maker approached me about going public and I could do it under terms that aren't too onerous, I'd consider it, because you're going to get that public lift here. And eventually we're going to see a whole bunch of stupid M&A. And I'm already hearing from some of the small guys, not going to say which ones, but I'm hearing that they're getting big offers from some of the groups that have cash because they don't know where to deploy it. So, that's where I like to deploy my capital in the small cap space. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good thesis. You know, I like your Sundial thesis, to be honest with you. I think it's pretty.
I've got so much positive feedback off of my Sundial. I've never had more positive feedback off of a thesis, my dumbest thesis, where it was like my dumb trade. And
Are you still in it?
I still am in it.
Well, you said what not is, so I gotta check.
I don't know. Am I like this? Like it's down today. It's
Sundial.
It's under $2.
Yeah,
it's under $2. Where's all the love, folks? How come I'm not getting the text messages, the WhatsApps, the Facebook messages, the Twitter messages? All of a sudden, small cap goes down, and you guys ain't or the Sundial goes down. You guys ain't loving the small cap. Come on. Okay.
I mean,
sorry.
it's actually pretty insane. Just to put this into context a little bit, Sundial is like a was this like, so it's at $2. It has like 1.5 billion shares outstanding. So you're looking like three billion in market cap, and some of these MSO comps are like trading just at that. Like AR is trading at 3 billion, Harvest is trading at 2.3 billion. Columbia Care is 2.8. So it's pretty insane what type of what like how much of a push Sundial's gone because of their obviously their NASDAQ listing, right?
Mm-hmm. But which effectively like makes them a SPAC, right? Because like this is like a shell. They're not going to make any money in Canada.
Well, yeah, they're just a smaller shell, or they're a smaller company than Chronos, right? Like Chronos does, I have Chronos as like 43 million in last quarter revenue, like US, and like Sundial is like 10 million, which is obviously a degree lower, but like Chronos hasn't done any sort of, or sorry, I have Chronos at 11 million, so they're pretty comparable, and Chronos has just been sitting there with a big cash stack, right? Because they understand that the growth is in the US, and they're probably just going to wait for some sort of like regulatory thing, some sort of thing that comes through that allows these US companies to or these Canadian companies to go and buy out US companies. And Sundial has like what, 610 million US in cash, like excluding like cash burns.
Yeah,
So
let's pull this up here. This is some of the Canadian LPs on Y charts. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but we can kind of see here on a valuation standpoint. And I don't know how accurate this is. I wish I had your sheet because you've probably got much more real numbers. But you see, Canopy 15 billion, Hexo just about $1 billion, Afria's at about 6. I think these are U.S. figures. I'm using the U.S. symbols. Sundial's just under 3, Aurora's just under 3, and Tilray's at 5. Right? So then let's take a look here at actual cash flow. Canopy burned 300 million in the last 4 quarters. Hexo burned 53 million in the last 4 quarters. Afria burned 300 million in the last 4 quarters. Sundial burned 38 million in the last 4 quarters. Aurora burned 173 million in the last 4 quarters, and then Tilray has burned 30 million in the last 4 quarters. Now, look, Tilray and Afria are trying to merge. We'll see if it happens or not. But when I look at this, you know what I say? I say Sundial. We could probably make the case Hexo is actually not a terrible on a relative basis, and we're just looking at cash burn. What I think Hexo's problem is, I think their share price might be too high. What's Hexo trading at?
Like $10.
$8. Yeah, $8.
Yeah,
in the US.
yeah.
So
Wait,
10,
what?
10
$8?
Canadian. Yeah.
There you go.
Apologies. I've been editing an article in the background that I wanted out ASAP. So just to interrupt everyone, Canada's securities regulator has approved the first Bitcoin ETF in North America. Quick article put together by Hermina here. It's going to mirror the price of Bitcoin.
You want me to pull this up for you?
Yeah, pull it up. It's on the first page. Sorry, not to cut you guys off, but I think this is important news.
Yeah, here we go. It's coming. It's coming.
So
let me change the caption. There you go.
So it's this ETF is to be listed on the TSX. It's being ran by Purpose Investments and it's intended to reflect the value of Bitcoin, excluding fees and expenses, of course, related to the ETF, and it will be physically backed by the coin itself. So it's the first one in North America, and to me, it just lends more credibility to the whole digital currency space. There's been a number of developments as of late lending credibility to it. However, this is the first ETF approved in North America, and I'm sure there's going to be people piling into it.
Yeah, it's a way to get exposure. Justin, you used to trade Bitcoin, didn't you? In your younger years? When you were younger, Justin?
When I very young Justin. I actually had to use it because I ran a business, as like you can call it a business. I ran a game server, and my PayPal would kept on getting frozen because I was obviously underage. So I had to use Bitcoin for my transactions. So
Yeah.
I did own Bitcoin.
So there we go. It's a new use case, and bull argument
Yeah.
for Bitcoin is for underage entrepreneurs who have been locked out by PayPal. There we go.
There you
now
go.
I have a purpose.
There you go. Yes.
So what did you use to trade it? Was it like Coinbase, or was there like an app that you used?
So like Coinbase was kind of new back then. I mainly I would do person to person, like peer to peer transactions. So like I had we had a wallet because it wasn't just me who did this because I didn't know how to code. So I was like the business guy and my buddy was the coder. And we would literally like you could do like you could just it was like a Kijiji type website that you could just find people who are looking to buy Bitcoin in the area, and you basically like you basically like met up somewhere where there's Wi-Fi and you're able to they would like transfer you the money and you would transfer them the Bitcoin. It was very odd. Is it
I think the part I like most about this is you had to physically meet someone so that you could transfer something that was digital by nature.
Yeah. Well, because back then it wasn't very that was just the easiest way. There was also a Bitcoin ATM. We had like a Bitcoin ATM in my city, and it was we were able to like withdraw and buy Bitcoin there if we needed.
So did you hold that Bitcoin to today's price?
I sadly I didn't. And if I did, I probably wouldn't be doing this in my room if I if I held Bitcoin. So
I love the authenticity. Remember when I first started this, like 30 days ago, I had a whole bunch of crap behind me, and I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic. And our video staff, Chris, Chris, he's already started harassing you about the lighting.
Yeah.
By give it a month, he's gonna have you with some sort of like, probably like the skyline in Hamilton behind you, and expensive microphone.
Does anyone want to look at that skyline? It's like posting the skyline of Regina. No one wants to see it.
Yeah, that's not true. I think it's pretty. It's cute. It's cute how you guys are stuck in like 1964.
Oh, hey, I'm looking to get out of 1964 and move to 1920 once I'm on an acreage here, buddy.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Moving on. What is there any other news that's come out today in that we ought to cover?
I'm sure I'll think of something the second we go off air.
Well,
Don't
Justin.
mind my clicking as I see what we got up.
Well, so Justin, this is great of you to join us.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people want to know your backstory. Let's save it for another day, or should we get into it now? Let's save
it for another day, and that way we can guarantee that young Justin will join us again.
Yes, and hopefully like not while I'm supposed to be in class.
Hey, you told me already, man.
I don't know. All I'm saying, and also like you have to give me a little bit of warning. Like you can see my hair's a little like.
Oh, you look great. You look great.
Oh yeah, I look beautiful.
Authenticity, man.
I look beautiful, don't I?
This is the moment. This is the moment of Tiger Woods' career where his dad pulled him onto that game show and he putted the ball as a 3-year-old. And one day you're going to be this big investment banker running billion-dollar deals, and you'll pull up this clip. You'll pull up this clip and go, "That was his first appearance on this bizarre Canadian talk show, SmallCapSteve
with two bozos that are just shooting the shit." Yeah, absolutely.
So. But Justin, thanks so much for hopping on. Next time we'll do some more prep, and we were just having technical issues with Lobo. Our producer Chris has us booked with great guests all next week. You can see in the private chat he's already on me about it. Chris, why don't you just hop on the air and tell us who's coming on next week? Because I'm terrible at reading the stuff on live. If you're there, Chris, are you there?
Oh no, he
Oh,
likes
there
to
he is.
disappear around this
Here,
time.
here he is. There he is. There's the man. Chris, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Who's going to be on? Who's going to be on the show next week?
So it's going to be a jam-packed week. We got Tuesday, we got Chris Carl. Wednesday, we got David Erfley. I hope I didn't murder that. Thursday, we got Brett Kachuba. And Friday, it's Rob McEwen.
We got Rob McEwen on, a legit billionaire.
Yep.
Talking to two bozos.
Did he get as mad at you as Jim Rogers did?
No, unfortunately not.
Jim Rogers hates you. But that's great, Chris. You're doing a great job booking up interviews. And
I do have one request there, Chris. Next time you come on, I expect to see you in a director's chair. It's just a requirement.
No, he's a producer. He's a producer. He needs to have a.
He's the director of our show, though, is he not? That's what I'm classifying him as.
He needs to have like a smoke that he hasn't lit in his hand, sitting in a studio, getting all pissed off at us for screwing up the show, and then we just zoom in on him, and he throws a smoke, and he's all pissed off. Picture it now. But that's great. That's great. You got us some big guests, and you managed to harass Justin in the middle of his class and get him on the show.
Yeah.
So for those of you that don't know, our producer is ruthless.
Thanks for hopping in, Justin.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was very ambiguous. I got a call, and it was, hey, can you click the link? I go, you didn't send me a link. He goes, just click it. So like,
Did I say that?
hey, and this is how it goes. Now I'm here.
Well, look, we're hoping that you keep coming on. You're legitimately one of the smartest, most talented people I know, who's just at the start of his career. And the biggest threat that we have having you on the show is that people are going to realize how talented you are, and we're going to lose you. But until then, we might as well have some fun and screw up your education.
Yeah. I can see that you're trying to plot my downfall. Well, we're trying to,
That's how we keep you around
up,
here,
right? Yeah.
Okay, well, Jay, what's going on at the Deep Dive this afternoon?
So this afternoon we have. Oh, I apologize. It is. Chris, take it away. Who's this afternoon?
Oh, we have
Jack
Jay
Hill?
Martin.
Jay Martin. That's it. Thank you.
Cambridge House.
Cambridge House, yeah.
From Cambridge House. Yes, I watched the video. I swear.
He's great, by the way. He's got a lot of energy.
Oh, he's got tons of energy, and he's great at what he does. He goes over investing in early stage companies, which is great for our viewers. It's right up their avenue. On top of that, actually, I have an article by young Justin himself to edit. He's got a title that I'll probably have to change.
I hear that when you write articles for Jay to edit, you put in joke titles to mess with them.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're not they're pretty accurate representations of what the title, but I guess Jay doesn't think that, so he changes them. But
I gotta satisfy a wider base than you and me.
yeah, sorry about that. I'm sure you get a laugh out of it.
Oh,
though,
I
so.
get a good chuckle out of it. Don't change that.
Okay, so
So I've got some analyst coverage on Aurora Cannabis. I'm actually extremely behind on editing, so we've got a jam-packed weekend. I'll just run through some of the stuff here we got coming out. We've got some stuff on Willow as it pertains to Jazz Pharmaceuticals and GW Pharma. We've got some price target raises on Nuvei and Enthusiast Gaming. On top of that, I'm trying to get out a corporate overview for Relay, and I've got just a ton of content from Hermina, who's been just crushing the macros this week while I have been drowning. Our writing team has been knocking it out of the park, and it's solely on myself, the editor, for why we don't have more content out there.
you don't work hard enough.
No, I guess I got to change from 14 to 15 hours a week. I don't know what it is, but there's hours a week, hours a day. But yeah, we've got a ton of content coming out this weekend. I don't know when the content's going to stop, to be honest. I've fallen behind. But on top of that, we are here for entertainment purposes only. If we even satisfy that bucket, we just have strong opinions, and that's about it. We do not provide financial advice. What we say is opinion only. I've got no licenses, and I don't think anyone else that's been on this call today has any designations or licenses either.
And I'm scrambling here. I want to find the short mafia, because where is? Do we have that link anywhere, Jordan or Jay? Can you find it?
I will see. Justin might have sent it to us. One second.
I'm going through all your media feed on your Twitter here.
I've got the media feed we have in the chat with Justin.
Okay.
Oh my lord, this is
So how did you end up? So are you willing to confirm on air, yes or no, that you are a part of the short mafia?
Well, I mean, it says I'm on there, right? But like the only issue
that's him in the top right corner there, by the way.
It's circled there. It's circled. You're not gonna see my mouse. Sorry.
We can see it. We can see it.
So it says young Justin, who we now know who.
Yeah, who I am. Yeah, I guess I am a part of this, but like it's very odd, that I'm a part of this thing, right? Because like it's about biotech, biopharmaceutical stuff, and
it is CYDY that put you on this list, wasn't it?
Yes, and I'm not a peptide chemist. I'm not like any sort of biotech analyst. I don't follow biotech. I don't know shit about biotech.
So what role, like, are you comfortable talking about this on air? What role did you play in Cytodyne? Did you just research it and post some stuff on Twitter?
Yeah, I mean, I talk with a lot of people who shuffle like short ideas around, and
I think the funniest aspect of this whole thing so Justin sent this to myself and Steve. So we get on the phone and we're like, this is hilarious. We need to know the backstory here, right? Like the short mafia, what? And we're like, I haven't heard of 3/4 of these people on here. Justin's like, I don't know what it is, but I mean, I talked to that guy, to that guy, to this guy, to that guy. Like, okay, maybe he is.
Justin is a legit hustler. Like, he's just constantly networking and talking to people. Okay, so you did some research, you posted some stuff on Twitter, and then the next thing you know, you're being accused of being in this mafia.
Yeah, I like between posting and me finding this out, like, because no one sent me this. Like, no one sent me this picture and said, "Oh, Justin, you're on this thing." I was actually scrolling through someone's feed who took a screenshot of the guy who posted this, and I was like, "Oh, I'm interested in who's in there," and I see my name. So it comes to as a very big surprise for myself, actually, because, like I said, I'm not a biopharmaceutical person. I don't know anything about that type of stuff. I just, like, some of my friends are, some of my colleagues are, and when they bring me an idea and I look at it, some things look a little odd. So you tweet about the odd things, and I guess like a few of my tweets put me on this list.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, look, I hope that you're careful in the mafia there, because
I mean, I was anonymous before this, but like,
but then we sent you a link and randomly pulled you in.
Yeah.
Well, you did also agree to let us buy you a webcam so that we could do
that's
this.
True. That's true. Fair point.
Okay. And we're getting some troll comments. That are actually
don't put that one.
I won't put those on. But I see you. Username Eat Feet, and I'm having a little chuckle. But thanks everybody for joining us, Justin. I hope you'll come back, and let's be a little bit more prepared next time. You should have been prepared. I'm disappointed that you weren't prepared.
Yeah, sorry. I'll have like a full folder of like pictures and that type of stuff, ready just in case.
Always
like,
be ready, man.
Always be ready. You never know when you're going to get pulled on SmallCapSteve Live.
That is true. That is true. I'll be ready next time. I promise you.
Well, thanks everybody for watching today. Oh, we gotta get the disclaimer here.
I gave the disclaimer.
Did you?
Yes. Entertainment purposes only. What we do and say is opinion only, and no one here has financial licenses or designations. Justin hasn't even done school.
That is true. That is true.
He's now gonna be done school a lot later because we just pulled him out of a class that he now has to drop. So, well, thanks everybody for joining us. We had some fun. We had some laughs. We had some cries. We had Lobo Tiggre, not a full Tiggre, which was disappointing for me because Lobo is such an entertaining guest. But we managed to bring you guys young Justin, which is the next best thing. And I hope everybody has a great weekend. You could have spent your last hour staring at any screen, any place in the world, but you chose to spend it with us. I sincerely appreciate that, and I hope you all have a great weekend.